In today's news, Premier intends to borrow upwards of $100 million. The Premier outlines plans for joint ministerial council meeting. Well, nobody can live off of $6 an hour, says Honorable Lorna Smith, OBE. At the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force will clamp down on tinted rental vehicles. Well, these and more stories when 284 News return.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman with yours truly, Ron Grant, a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 5, a 284 Media production.
Get ready for an electrifying football showdown. It's the CONCACAF Nations League, and it's coming to the British Virgin Islands. BVI takes on Dominica on November 16th, 2023 at the A.O. Shirley Recreation Ground. This is a match you won't want to miss. The action kicks off at 3 p.m., and we've got a fantastic offer for you. Tickets are just $10 for adults and free entry for primary and high school students. Ticket outlets: the BVI Football Association, CCT, 284 Media, Hazim's Beauty Supply, Mr. Nice Guy Virgin Gorda, and Speedy's Ferry Services Virgin Gorda. Don't miss your chance to witness the thrilling action as BVI takes on Dominica in the CONCACAF Nations League. Remember, it's happening on November 16, 2023 at the A.O. Shirley Recreation Ground at 3 p.m. It's going to be epic.
Welcome viewers to the Monday, November 13th edition of 284 News. I am Kamal Haynes, bringing you the latest out of the British Virgin Islands. Leading today's news, Premier and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, says he intends to borrow upwards of $100 million to assist with the rehabilitation of the territory's infrastructure. Premier Wheatley made a statement at a press conference last Friday in response to a question posed by local media. After it was announced that the United Kingdom's loan guarantee of $426 million was no longer available to the BVI government, residents have been asking where will the monies come to assist with the rehabilitation of the territory's infrastructure. Dr. Wheatley said discussions are ongoing with officials within the United Kingdom government to find the best terms and conditions for borrowing, and added that the figure in mind to borrow is in the range of $100 million.
Well, we're in discussions with the financial secretary right now, but it's my intention to borrow upwards of $100 million. That is my intention.
Premier Wheatley said the territory's need for loan financing is mainly due to the devastation done by Hurricanes Irma and Maria, which costed the territory more than $1 billion in damage. As it pertains to the value of the rehabilitation works needed for the BVI, the Premier said it is in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
As it pertains to the direct figure of how much we need, it's literally hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, I can perhaps get an exact figure for you because of course, the Recovery and Development Agency had a list of projects, and there was tentative numbers attached to those projects. But it's literally hundreds of millions of dollars that we will need.
Of course. So would you say that's on the greater side of $500 million or less?
I would hesitate to provide you with an exact figure right now, but just know, of course, we have been doing some wonderful work thus far. We've repaired most of our administration buildings. Of course, we have the Central Administration Complex, the Ralph T. O'Neill Central Administration Complex, that still needs to be repaired with quite a number of millions of dollars to do that. We still have a few schools that we have to repair our road infrastructure.
Dr. Wheatley also stressed the importance of the BVI borrowing as cheaply as possible, even if it comes in the form of another loan guarantee.
We saw the effects of the climate disasters and how much it has set back our development. And we want the United Kingdom to be a partner in that. We want them to acknowledge that indeed it is important for us to get financing as cheaply as possible, whether that is done through a loan guarantee, which of course we are certainly open to, whether that is done by making official direct assistance available to us, or ODA, or whether we are able to access green finance through the United Nations and its agencies. We are advocating for a fairer world order as it pertains to small island developing states who bear the brunt of climate change.
The leader of government business also reiterated that the previous loan guarantee was not refused under his administration, but under that of the former Premier, Andrew Foy.
I would say that my government hasn't refused a loan guarantee. Of course, the loan guarantee was on the table even prior to me taking office in 2019 as the Minister of Education. And of course, the leader of that administration at the time, Honorable Foy, as well as others prior to that administration, expressed some concerns about conditions which were attached to the loan guarantee. But that is gone now, that's in the past, and it doesn't make any sense for me to continue to rehash what happened before. The UK government had said by the time that I became the Premier that, of course, the loan guarantee was off the table. It had expired.
Dr. Wheatley further re-emphasized the importance of addressing climate change due to its implications and the need for financial support to small island developing states which remain vulnerable to various natural disasters.
We're currently in conversations with the United Kingdom to support us in borrowing and getting money as cheaply as possible. And of course, I cannot speak on this topic without saying that a lot of the reason that we need loan finance is because the territory was devastated by a devastating hurricane. And it's well acknowledged that small island developing states like the BVI suffer the ill effects of climate change, but the problem has largely been caused by big emitters like the United States, like the United Kingdom, like China, like India, and other much bigger nations. And we are saying, and we are advocating to the global community that small island developing states shouldn't have to bear the brunt of climate change without the support of the world. And so that concessional financing must be made available to small island developing states who are vulnerable to the effects of climate change.
Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Whitley has emphasized the importance of reshaping the relationship between the overseas territories and the United Kingdom, as well as developing a new strategy for the United Kingdom's engagement with the overseas territories. But these are the primary objectives for the ongoing Joint Ministerial Council meetings in London. Dr. Wheatley, along with Deputy Premier Lorna Smith OBE, are in attendance of these meetings in the UK, which commenced from today, November 13th, to Wednesday, November 15th. The Premier recently outlined the BVI's delegation's plans for the meetings at a press conference.
This effort to reframe the relationship is about identifying and affirming certain political principles on which the UK and OTs operate in order to minimize friction and promote a more supportive posture by the UK for territories, especially after the severe strains experienced over the years that damaged the relationship. The new OT strategy is supposed to be supportive of a better relationship and will be presented to OT political leaders in London. The reframing of the relationship is expected to be captured in a political declaration at the conclusion of the JMC. I should mention as well that there will be a discussion on public registers of beneficial ownership. That is why I'm pleased that Deputy Premier and Minister for Financial Services, Trade and Labour, Honourable Lorna Smith OBE, will be joining me at the JMC.
One of the key points Dr. Wheatley highlighted was the intention to engage David Rutley, the UK Minister for Overseas Territories, in discussions about public registers.
We'll reiterate that the Virgin Islands is a jurisdiction that respects fundamental human rights, including the rights to privacy and data protection. Both were highlighted by the European Court of Justice in a ruling earlier this year on public registers. The position of the court is that the implementation of public registers should not violate individuals' right to privacy and data protection. Violation of these fundamental human rights can lead to unwanted legal challenges. This is something that Virgin Islands takes very seriously, and the Deputy Premier and I will discuss further with Minister Rutley.
Prior to the meeting, Dr. Wheatley also shared a list of crucial considerations that he believes the UK should take into account to enhance its relationship with the overseas territories. He has called for increased respect and support in various areas.
1. Respect for the role and responsibilities of the devolved governments of the overseas territories. 2. Respect for the role and responsibilities of the legislatures of the overseas territories. 3. Respect for the will of the people of the overseas territories and their unique cultures and values. 4. Respect for the OT's self-governance and political advancement in line with the United Nations Charter, UN declarations, and UN resolutions. 5. Support for the sustainable development of the overseas territories to help them achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And 6. Assistance to the OTs based on their vulnerability to help them respond to the negative impacts of climate change.
Viewers, the Premier's delegation includes Deputy Premier Honorable Lorna Smith, OBE, Special Envoy to the Premier Mr. Benito Wheatley, Permanent Secretary in the Premier's Office Mrs. Carolyn Stout-Igwe, Financial Secretary Mr. Jeremiah Frett, Deputy Director of the International Affairs Secretariat Ms. Dwynelle Davis, Managing Director of the Financial Services Commission Mr. Ken Baker, Director of Policy Development and External Relations of the Financial Services Commission Mr. Sherno Jallo, and International Relations Counsel at the Attorney General's Chambers Mrs. Fiona Forbes Vantupu. Well, up next, nobody can live off and $6 an hour. That says Deputy Premier Honorable Lorna Smith and Royal Virgin Islands Police Force to clamp down on tinted rental vehicles. We'll need more stories after a word from our sponsors.
Is someone gonna get that?
Hello.
Hello.
So nice of you to have cleaned up for us. Hi, baby.
We're like in-laws that don't show up unannounced.
Don't worry. I've got this.
CG Insurance. Good like that.
Is that my lunch? Is that my lunch?
We're like the coworker that doesn't eat your lunch.
I'm John. I'm John.
CG Insurance. Good like that.
Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes,
Good
son.
morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut fun people.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you?
Yes.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Welcome back, viewers. With the establishment of an ad hoc advisory committee to review the minimum wage in the Virgin Islands, The Ministry of Financial Services, Labour and Trade, under the leadership of the Honourable Lorna Smith OBE during a recent press conference, addressed the various aspects that will affect the review and recommendations of the minimum wage in the Virgin Islands.
Absolutely, there must be public consultations. I talked about the support that they will be given from various government departments, or our economics groups, or Central Statistics Office, and so on. There has to be very wide consultation on this whole issue of the minimum wage. And as I said, the minimum wage is just a part of the whole issue of the cost of living, which is a significant problem over the years, but with the increase in interest rates, the interest in so many, the increase in so many other areas, we do have to give it the highest priority.
While the review of the minimum wage by the ad hoc committee is just one part of the minimum wage conversation, when asked by our agency about enforcement, Honourable Smith bemoaned that enforcement is key.
Enforcement is critical. That's why I also said that it's being done in keeping with the Labour Code. The Labour Code requires that this minimum wage be examined, regularly. So it will definitely be enforced once it's accepted by the government. There's an advisory committee. The advisory committee will make its recommendations to the ministry, and of course, you know how it works, then it would have to be taken to cabinet. And once that decision is taken, then of course the minimum wage would be enforced.
The Deputy Premier stressed that the matter of minimum wage is not an easy one, and that all aspects must be considered.
And let me be careful in saying that it's not an easy issue. I was very deliberate in talking about a review, because you have to look at you have to weigh different factors, and we don't know where it's going to come out. But once it's accepted by the government, we expect it to be enforced.
So could it be assumed, based off what you said, you stressed on the fact that it's just a review, person shouldn't look forward to next year, the minimum wage basically raising?
No, when I say a review, I'm saying you have to weigh different factors. I have no doubt nobody can live on, $6 an hour. I don't even know how many people are being paid that. But we want to look at all the factors. How is it going to impact if it were to be increased? How would it impact the wider economy? The whole taxation issues and so on. So there are a number of issues to take into account with this minimum wage.
Moving on, viewers, Commissioner of Police Mark Collins has announced that the next focus of law enforcement in the Virgin Islands will be rental vehicles with tinted windows. Well, this decision comes after the observation that such vehicles are frequently present at serious incidents across the islands. According to Commissioner Collins, there has been a noticeable pattern linking tinted rental vehicles to serious incidents in the Virgin Islands. While the specifics of these incidents were not detailed in the interview, the implication is clear. There is a growing concern about the use of these vehicles in potentially illicit activities.
One of the big things I think is a concern for me, ministers, and for citizens are these tinted rental vehicles that are going around, because without a doubt they're nearly seen at every single serious incident, and that's where my clampdown is going to be next, on rental vehicles with tinted windows.
The specifics of this clampdown were not detailed during the interview, but it can be inferred that there will be increased scrutiny on such vehicles. While this move is aimed at increasing safety and reducing crime, it could have implications for rental companies and their customers. Rental vehicles with tinted windows are often the option for local customers and tourists who want a bit more privacy. Up next, new investments needed in the BVI, says Honourable Lorna Smith, and former UK Prime Minister David Cameron appointed as new Foreign Secretary. With these stories, when TINTED News return.
This November, the sun rises on the northernmost island of the Virgin Islands and shines over an unforgettable 3-day experience. The Caribbean's most anticipated food festival, the Anegada Lobster Festival. The 24th to the 26th of November, the island's best restaurants present their best lobster dishes and other delicacies while you and 3,000 of your closest friends soak up the sun. Enjoy music from top bands, seaside activities, and win awesome prizes. There's nothing quite like the Anegada Lobster Festival. The 24th to the 26th of November. Book a room or catch a boat and be there. You'll see, it's the taste and fun you need.
The wait is over. CCT Fire is here. Experience ultra-fast downloads, seamless streaming, and even more reliable connectivity on an all-new fire-blazing super-fast CCT Fiber network. CCT Fire. Bring it home and upgrade today.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for sticking with us. In a recently conducted Just for the Record series, the first 100 Days in Office by 284 Media, Deputy Premier of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Lorna Smith, OBE, Minister for Financial Services, Trade and Labor, spoke directly to the BVI attracting investment.
Let's face it. In the BVI, we need to find and attract new money to the country. We can't do everything ourselves with what we have. So in terms of our investment portfolio, that has to be developed and broadened significantly.
And creating attractive investment opportunities.
Attractive investment opportunities, you know, giving people incentives to invest in the territory. That those things are a must for us.
Honorable Smith reiterated 2 areas that she spoke about on the campaign trail that are still of grave concern to her, which include the BVI's infrastructure and waste management. She said the BVI will be unable to attract the type of investment it needs if the country is not cleaned up and if its infrastructure is not at the level to which it needs to be.
2 things that I talked about when I was campaigning. One was cleaning up this country. We are not going to be able to attract the kind of investment that I just talked about, that you and I just talked about, in terms of new money and new business, unless we clean this country up. It's needed very badly on land and on sea. With my colleagues, we've talked about doing that. Again, the bureaucracy requires requests for proposals. If you're talking about getting the derelict boats removed, so that probably will take a couple of months, and it's very frustrating. But that's what it is, so I have to live with it. That's on the sea. On land, we've talked about that too, and we're working towards that. But it takes a concerted effort to clean up this country and to keep it clean. And everybody needs to be part of it, including Rotary. You're a Rotarian too.
Indeed.
And in terms of keeping it clean, when I say Rotary, I mean in terms of educating the public about the importance of the environment and the importance of keeping it clean. And the other thing that I campaigned on is the infrastructure of this country. You know, it's really, all of us have that experience. It's not only me in terms of the fact that my car is broken.
Yes.
I'm now driving around in a Volkswagen because, you know, my car is broken. And that is not just my experience, this is the experience
across the
everybody.
territory.
Yes. You know, all the potholes, and just the appearance of our streets.
I agree.
It's unacceptable for a country with what is it, the second or third highest per capita income in the Caribbean. Our infrastructure should not be at the level that it is.
Additionally, the Minister of Trade spoke adamantly about the rules that she said are simply flouted in the territory and not adhered to, even in the area of trade.
I have to talk about the rules or the fact that we just flout rules. People sell, and selling is my area of responsibility. People pitch a tent and they sell clothes, they sell food, they sell whatever. It's not right. You know, it's not fair to a person who has to pay rent, pay utility bills and so on. But more importantly, we must respect how we want our country to look, you know, and we should refrain from, you know, just deciding, well, I need to make a few dollars and so I must pitch a tent. I'm all for supporting business and vendors and so on. But, you know, there's a time and a place for everything.
But within the constraints of the rules.
Exactly. There's a market there. I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm sitting, my office is
right there.
And I come outside and I look at it every day, going and coming. And I say, why is it not utilized? I can't fathom it. And the people just, and I don't think it's very expensive to use it.
No.
But we need to use the facilities that we have.
Tune in to Tweet4 Media for the special series Just for the Record First 100 Days. The program aims to bring residents closer to the core of our democracy by providing elected members of the House of Assembly an opportunity to reflect on their first 100 days in office. For the full interview, visit all Tweet4 Media platforms. Viewers, moving on to our final story. In a surprise move, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has appointed former Prime Minister David Cameron as the country's new Foreign Secretary. The appointment, announced on Monday, is part of a broader cabinet reshuffle by Sunak. Cameron, who served as Conservative Prime Minister between 2010 and 2016, replaces James Cleverly, who has been moved to the role of Home Secretary. Cleverly is taken over from Sula Braverman, who was sacked last week following a controversial article she released surrounding pro-Palestinian protests. The return of Cameron to a senior cabinet role comes despite recent controversy over his lobbying efforts on behalf of financial firm Greensill Capital. The revolving door between government and business drew widespread criticism of the former Prime Minister. In his first statement since accepting the cabinet role, Cameron pledged to gladly serve and support Sunak amidst profound global challenges. While he acknowledged the daunting issues facing the UK on the world stage, including the war in Ukraine and the Middle East crisis. But he argued that it has rarely been more important for this country to stand by our allies, strengthen our partnership, and make sure our voice is heard, end quote. But the former Conservative leader admitted he has been out of the frontline politics for 7 years. However, he believes his experience can help Sunak meet today's foreign policy test. But Cameron described the UK as an international country whose people and businesses rely on stability worldwide. He said a key motivator for accepting the role was the importance of international scrutiny and domestic security. But the former PM said that despite past disagreements, he believes Sunak is showing exemplary leadership during difficult times. Viewers, Cameron also spoke of his belief in public service as his reason for returning to cabinet. He praised UK's diplomatic corps as some of the finest assets of their kind anywhere in the world. Well, he also promised to provide continued leadership and support to the Foreign Office staff. Well, that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at tweet4media.com and like us on Facebook at Tweet4Media and Tweet4BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Bye-bye.
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top up or what?